We are back. Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to JS Torres, Right Brain Boricua here on YouTube and also on Facebook. I decided to cross stream onto Facebook as well. So if you're watching on Facebook, I appreciate that. But also, y'all can come on to the YouTube side and do your thing there. All right. So you see the title, you see everything that's going on. Welcome to State of Youth Baseball 2026 address. And by the way, Happy New Year to all my friends and followers and supporters out there in my social media. I appreciate y'all rocking with me for 2026. It's going to be a big year. It's going to be a just awesome experience with me doing these live streams and me like growing into the content creation circuit, whatever you want to call it. I am JS Torres. With me are a few baseball people that some I know well, some I am get to meeting for the first time, and hopefully I get to meet them crossing paths when it comes to this great sport of baseball. All right, so first things first, get all the housekeeping out of the way. Make sure you like as you are coming in to my platform. Leave your boy a like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I finally made it up to 50 subscribers. On the way to 100. Let's get it. Hell, let's get there tonight. Let's see if I can how many subscribers I can add off of this, off of this live stream. And also hit the notification bell if you are subscribed, so that way you can get notified of when I do go live and I do have these live streams, because I don't have a set schedule. And by the time actually baseball season begins, I'm going to try and schedule a few here and there, but it's going to be tough because I am busy doing a whole lot of games, whether it's NCAA college games, whether it's high school, whether it's travel ball, whether it's, all the above, you know what I'm saying? Other than the professional level. We're going to get there. Soon come. But either way, I'm not going to be too long-winded. I am going to, that's what I was going to do. I was going to link, or at least show the link. If you want to pull up, if you feel like the conversation here between me and I believe we have 6 people in the back right now waiting to get on. If you feel like you want to pull up, if you feel like you got smoke, if you feel like you need to make a point of your own and you think that we're just bullshitting or whatever, then there's a link. I'm going to try and pin it in the chat so that way y'all can see it. And y'all can pull up if y'all want to, if y'all ain't scared, you feel me? But either way, I know that this is going to be a spirited discussion. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to the state of youth baseball in now 2026. I know that I'm going to have people on from all corners, well, pretty much all corners of the baseball circuit. I have coaches. Obviously, I have former players because we all played this game. I played this game up until I was 27 years old, and then I had to retire because of, nagging injuries here and there. And quite frankly, it's a numbers game. Sometimes you're going to get told during your playing career that, hey, son, I think it's time to explore different avenues within, whether it's within baseball, within sports, what have you. I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone has had that conversation to them at some point in their baseball life, playing life, I should say. And it's hard, but reality sets in. And like I said, it's a numbers game. Only a certain amount of players get to advance to professional ball, and it dwindles down all throughout Little League. It dwindles down to travel ball, dwindles down to high school, dwindles down to college, dwindles down to professional level. It happens. There's only so many of these jobs available for guys, and it happens. So, but either way, let me get this off. Bear with me, guys, because like I said, I'm still learning how to do this thing. All right, this is only my 8th episode, right? Episode 8, the State of Youth Baseball 2026. So, without further ado, if I don't have anything in the chat so far, nope. All right, so I'm going to pull up my guest for tonight's State of Youth Baseball 2026. And first and foremost, we have to the stage Mr. Seymour Anthony Brown. How you doing, sir?
Good evening. Another fun-filled New Year's. Yourself?
I spent my New Year's quietly, much like most of the world, it seems like. At home, I was sleeping because I worked the oh my God, what's that bowl name? ReliaQuest Bowl between Iowa and Vanderbilt. On New Year's Eve. So I was knocked out when the bell struck midnight, so I missed it. You gonna lie? How was your New Year's?
Can't complain. I mean, we saw the Hurricanes win, so that was fun. But otherwise, it ain't no different than any other usual.
Shout out to Miami Hurricanes. Seymour is in the Miami area, South Florida area, so of course, you know, he's got support for the Canes. Other than that, tell us a little bit about yourself, as quick as possible, so that way we can move on to other guests that I have. Go ahead. You got the floor.
All right, short, sweet, to the point. Umpire for 13 years, 5 years in college. Also a U.S. Army vet. I was Army for 06 to 09. I'm originally from New York, so I've been living in Florida since 2011. So yeah, just been making umpiring. Pretty much that's all I really do for a living, is just umpiring baseball games.
Very nice, very nice. And so what's the highest level of ball you have umpired so far?
Last year I was called up to fill in for the American Association, so that's an independent professional league. So I did that for about 10 games or so.
And real quick, you know, if you tell it to all the viewers that are tuning in either live or catches on the rerun, what is independent professional baseball?
Well, the league that I was in, they were affiliated with MLB. It's just pretty much it's still professional ball. It's just they're a league of their own, pretty much. It has nothing to really do with MLB per se, even though they are affiliated, but they're just their own particular league. So they got their own teams, they got their own little fan clubs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's still no different than the majors, just a lower level. That's all. They're a league of their own, pretty much. It has nothing to really do with it.
All right, cool. All right, so it's another outlet basically for guys that are out of college and seeking, you know, if they're not, I guess, good enough, or they're trying to make that extra step onto professional ball. Indie ball is an outlet for a lot of guys.
It's pretty much another opportunity for the players to try to get into the show.
And not only for players, but for coaches and for umpires as well.
Facts, that's true.
Yeah, so always there's always an outlet. You know, and that's one thing I wanted to take from this is that you know, baseball has become so globalized and so, like, you know, expanded on to the point where, like, now, and this is something that, you know, I'm going to talk about in one of my topics, you know, how watered down are we getting, you know what I'm saying? But we'll save that for not bringing everyone up. But it's really a good way to stay in the game, and, you know, who knows, you know, you have a good summer or a good short season or whatnot. Somebody's out there watching, somebody's out there scouting, and lo and behold, you can, you know, earn your way the hard way onto a professional league roster. So yeah, good stuff. All right, so next onto the stage, I'm going to bring up Mr. Logan Mikalo. Mikalo. Maybe I messed that up. I'm sorry if I did, but go ahead, introduce yourself.
It's all right. So, my name's Logan Maholko. I am a head coach for a varsity program here in Michigan now. And I've been coaching travel ball the last couple of years. I played both college and independent ball here in Michigan. And I've done some umpiring along the way as well.
All right, so you pretty much experience all of the facets of the game of baseball, both from a player's angle. Now you're a coach, and also you umpire. So the only thing I haven't done is coach. So you got that over me. And I don't know if I even want to get into coaching. How it is, but like I said, we'll discuss all that in our discussion here today. You said you're in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And just for shits and giggles, what's the weather like up there in Michigan at this day in January?
It's cold. It's very
cold.
cold right now.
That's why you gotta say it's cold. Right.
Never experienced living in the Great Lakes.
Yeah. So it's right now we've got about a foot of snow at the moment.
So I'm gonna brag, and I know my man Seymour. He can get this over me because he's even further south for me. I'm in the Tampa Bay area. He's in South Florida, and I actually umpired baseball games today on January 4th. That's the benefits of I guess living in the South, living in Florida, is that baseball is basically a 12-month sport now down here.
Right. Well, and that's a big problem up here. A lot of kids lose interest because they can't do anything over the winter, and there's not a ton of facilities. Like, I work for a facility now, but there's not a ton of them up here that do anything baseball related. So it's it gets to be one of those things where kids, they go 6 to 8 months before they pick up a baseball, and it makes it hard to compete with those teams down south because they're playing year round.
Yeah, that's true, and that's something that we're gonna get into as well as we go on tonight. But appreciate you being on, Logan, and we're gonna move on to Mr. David Ernay. Welcome in, David. How are you doing,
everybody? Fantastic. How are you guys? And great to see you, Anthony. It's been a while since you and I have gotten together on a field. So,
Ernie, it's been too damn long. Way too damn long.
Yeah, way too long. It's a little uncomfortable for me, though, seeing you in that Rangers hat and knowing that this Phillies fan is hosting this thing. So you guys got me stuck in the middle here. It's not fair.
Well, my apologies.
Well, just to be fair, yes, I am a Phillies fan, but I'm also a Rays fan too. I do support my local hometown team as well. And they're in different leagues. They rarely play each other, so it works out. 2008 was a beautiful year for me. I got to see both the Rays and the Phillies compete in the same World Series. So I was neutral. I was just sitting back and just enjoying the ride. But
well, you and I.
But yeah. So Dave,
quite a bit this way.
What's that?
I was saying you and I have known each other for quite some time, and if you're that right-brained Baracuan, it makes me the left-brained Jutalian from Northeast Philadelphia. So it's just I could never become a Phillies fan. That's all. It's all good.
So let me correct you. It's right-brained Boricua. It says Boricua, but it's all right. But yeah, exactly. Like it's always good to have fellow Philly people especially on my stream, and on just to talk shop and talk ball and all that stuff. So good stuff. By the way, what is your role these days when it comes to baseball?
Well, I am about to enter my 46th consecutive year as an umpire. I've been working in youth and professional baseball since I'm 11 years old. Where you said somebody came to you and said it was the end of your playing days, well, I kind of had that same discussion, but I was only 11 and had just blown my knee out in a little league game. And one of the local umpires, who I got to know pretty well from watching the game, asked me to come out on the field one day, and that was the beginning of a very, very long life in youth and professional ball. And I've had the privilege and the honor of being around this game as an umpire and as a broadcaster when I worked for CBS for 2 decades. My later years here, I'm a little slower. I'm doing mostly softball, but still get out there to do some high-level youth baseball for Perfect Game, Prospect Select, and a few other organizations. And I'm still doing college softball, so I'm staying around the game pretty well while I'm teaching middle school at the same time. So keeping a lot on my plate.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. By the way, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, so I'll mention this now. So since this is YouTube and all that, and I'm pretty much independent here, let's try and not say like any of the organizations that are out there, and all that type of stuff. Let's try to just keep it universal. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially if we get into discussion, like just try and do that for me. So that way, none of us will, get in trouble or anything like that. You know how it is out here. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, good stuff, David. All right. So next we have to the stage Mr. Jason. Just going by Jason. But Jason's with Pasco Connect Baseball, which is out of Florida. So sorry, Logan, you're being dominant so far for all these Florida people. So we'll rub it in. But Jason, welcome in. How you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just well. So go ahead. You got about 30 seconds or so. Introduce yourself. What do you do with baseball and anything else you want to plug in?
Well, my name's Jason Canals, and I've been coaching youth and travel baseball here in Florida for 17 years. And I've also umpired for the last 9 at Little League, travel, and fall high school level. And just been around baseball my entire life. Played it, all the way through my freshman year into all through high school. Nothing in college, but just always been around baseball. My son's in his freshman year in high school now, and just in the whole mix of travel baseball through our organization from 12-year-old, 14, 16, and 18, and just all in the mix of the mess down here. The watered down situation, like you had said.
Yep. Of course. Okay, very good. So I missed it. Do you you said you run the Pasco Connect Baseball
Yes,
organization, right?
Yes,
Okay. You said how long you've been running that?
we're going into our second year in business.
Oh wow! So you're new into this entity, this business
Yes,
of
sir,
travel.
correct.
All right. So real quick, what's the main thing you have learned in the 2 years as a organization owner?
Just the more you have to offer from a program, as far as like what you can give somebody right off the rip, means the most. So right now we're in the process of putting our own facility together. So we'll have a place for our own athletes. But right now we've been, battling with, larger, United States franchised, companies. You can think of
Cool.
the biggest travel ball team names, and that's who we're battling with down here in Florida.
All right. Good. Very good. Very good. Well, welcome in, Jason. Glad to have you on stream. All right. And as for now, last but certainly not least, we're gonna add in Mr. Damian Gatling. What's going on, Damian? How you doing? You're on mute, sir. Gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm quite well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. All right, so you want to give 30-second little introduction of yourself and what you do and all that with baseball?
Yeah, so I'm a 10-year baseball vet, 8 years of college ball. Work high school and I instruct and evaluate within the high school circuit out here in Georgia from Virginia. Been in Georgia since 2012. Uh, and unlike your initial stance, I didn't really get the call to walk away that my time was up with baseball. I kind of transitioned to basketball, which is what got me off the baseball field. But uh, I currently work baseball, basketball, and volleyball on the high school and college levels. So I just love being around the sport, love giving back to both the profession, the players, and definitely, kind of training up basically the next generation of umpires. And as you told us, feel free to give a shout out. What's good, Ant? Good meeting you last year. Hope you had a good time with your pro ball experience, and hope you keep going.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's what it's about as officials. We're giving back to the sport we love because without us, ain't no game. Y'all can twist it how you want it, but without us out there doing a service to y'all, it ain't gonna be no game without officials. That's in any type of sport, game, whatever. So appreciate you coming on. And also, before we begin, a little about me is that I am a now year 17 of officiating baseball. Starting my 6th season at the NCAA college level and my 10th now. Yeah, well, wow, 10 years now in doing high school ball since 2016, basically. So, yeah, we got a lot of experience up here. Obviously, doing travel ball since I want to say 2011, 2012, around there. So, and then starting at the youth local parks and stuff back in 2009. So that's the panel for tonight so far. If we could get more, we'd love to have you on. Like I said, the link should be pinned to the chat. If not, just sit back and enjoy it. So first thing, I'm going to begin. I guess let's begin with. I guess we'll go along popcorn style. Whoever wants to jump on first can go ahead and speak. In your opinion about the state of baseball in 2026, what is something that stands out, and what is something that I guess you can say like we need to address first of all? I'll leave it up to y'all first, right? To address any type of concerns, any type of certain like happenings around the sport of baseball that we need to like address first and foremost. I know it's a broad question that I asked, but gotta start somewhere, right?
Well, can we talk about violence towards officials?
Okay. Violence towards officials. So actually, I had a couple of videos to react to with that, but for the sake of me having to dig and do all that, I wasn't really prepared for that. So we're just gonna skip it for now. Maybe do it again next time we have a state of youth baseball address. But violence towards sports officials, especially baseball officials, it's to the point where there needs to be like serious repercussions when it comes to especially like I said, violence, meaning a violent act, not I guess verbal. You usually say verbal violence, but I'm pretty sure, Dave, you're talking about actually like assaulting, like physical violence, correct?
Yeah, the game has gotten so far beyond verbal abuse of officials to where it has become physical abuse, where you're finding players, coaches, parents, and fans physically attacking our umpires. And it has caused, I believe it is the number one cause for us not being able to recruit and retain officials, even in South Florida, where we are, and across the country, because it's turned into a who's going to get the most likes and most hits and most shares on social media if they act like a moron and get it posted, and everybody's got a camera now, so everybody's a journalist, obviously. But the whole idea of we need to go back a step or 12 in society and bring it back to where it is a gentleman's game.
Okay, so I was thinking of that as well, and I feel like that issue is, I guess, has a multifaceted set of causes, more or less, for lack of better verbiage, and not anything against any of the coaches. We're gonna take full accountability as well, but a big part is a sense of entitlement from coaches as well as players, but that also the separate microcosm where we have to take our sense of accountability is where there's a lot of guys that just look at officiating in general as a money grab. So they just out there to learn as little as possible, to invest as little as possible, and make as much money as possible. So they're making bad calls, not giving, not really caring. And then you got the coaches, players, and fans. I paid my money. I deserve to get a good product. So now they feel like they're entitled to talk to the umpires any type of way. And then the umpires, at the end of the day, you're a man, you're a woman. I'm not going to let you talk to me any type of way. But both sides are a part of the problem. So we need to take ownership of our own issue with the matter, so we can get back to a gentleman's game.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that point of it's both sides, right? Because it's not just uh especially with social media, Dave, like you have mentioned, like there have been instances where umpires and officials have been the aggressor, have been the ones that entice coaches or entice players for that matter. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that happens. We got to keep it. We got to keep it a buck, right? So we got to be able to hold ourselves accountable as officials as well, to tell our peers, tell our colleagues, tell our brothers and sisters, right? To, hey, you know what I'm saying? Be open and accepting of stuff that we sell you, especially if you are newer, especially if you are trying to get to a certain place. Now, obviously in travel baseball, because this is the bulk of this state of youth baseball, is going towards the travel ball circuit, right? And it's like you said, Damien, right? It's the entitlement factor, right? Because money is always the core factor. Is the envy. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those, what is it? The seven dead sins or whatever, the gluttony or whatever. I don't know. But either way, right? But what I'm trying to say is that it all ties down to it, so that way people, and it's like business as a whole. It's like the more money people put down on a certain product, more people invest, the more they get to be able to run shit, basically. And we have to tell them, like, listen, that's not how the shit works around here. So
Well,
we got to
the
be able
scary
to.
part of that,
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm sorry. The scary part of that is when we get down to brass tacks. To Damien's point, the parent, the family who's paying the money, and there's a lot of money involved in this. There's no question about that. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and greenbacks that go into all of this. Okay? The reality becomes that unless, in this case, tournament directors, organizers, assigners in general require trained umpires to be on the field, because now we're back to training and knowledge, not using the MSU, the make shit up rule book. Okay? Actually knowing the rules of the game, actually being able to officiate a game in peace, to be the peacemaker and broker in the game. Umpires and sports officials in general aren't there to be seen. You're there to watch the players play. And if we get in the way of that, it's only because we weren't trained properly and don't belong on that field or that court or that pitch or whatever it is that we're officiating, whichever sport it be.
But it's also, like you said before, when you have the low quality umpires, it stems from the parents and the coaches themselves, you know what I'm saying, want to badmouth and belittle some of the officials to the point where it's like, all right, it's slim pickings nowadays to even recruit. So now we're stuck with these low quality people who are serving as umpires that's going to give you shitty games, and then it's going to cause even more of a conflict. So like I said before, it does go both ways, but at some point, there's got to be some kind of order, especially when it comes to officiating. But in my personal opinion, it all starts from the parents. The parents have to be the ones to be the set example, because they can't just let themselves get out of hand. And if they get themselves out of hand, they think the kids themselves are going to be like, it's okay to be out of hand with the umpires too.
So
I definitely
I
think
want
to act like what they saw on TV.
So before we get to parents, because I have a whole another topic about parents coming up here in a matter of moments, but I want to stick with the whole money thing, right? Because I feel like the main issues that we have are obviously parents, money, I guess the quality of baseball, to which we're going to discuss that as well. And I guess another thing that we have to address the umpire professional development and all that stuff. That's important too. But also, I think another thing that is an issue with youth baseball is knowing when to tell a kid that, hey, you're not good enough to advance to the certain type of levels in travel baseball. Instead, we water down the product and we give that kid that's not as athletically skilled, not as talented, not as baseball IQ savvy to kind of like stick with it, right? And I'm not here to just tell anybody, hey, get your kid out of it. That's not what we're here for. That's not what I'm here for, right? But like I said in the beginning of the stream, is that it is ultimately going to become a numbers game with any sport, any type of business, right? There's numbers involved, and we can't keep everybody. Not everybody's allowed to be on a certain type of ride. You feel me? So instead of, letting the kid know about that, instead we keep, like I said, watering down the product, and like we give them a lane to, I guess, compete. But sometimes those lanes of competition turns out to be, like you said, Seymour, shitty baseball, shitty games. And with that, guess what happens as well? It trickles down to shitty coaching, shitty parents, shitty umpires. Let's keep it a buck again. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, I'm not ever going to be on here and sugarcoat and be like, oh, well, there's not bad umpires out there. Oh, well, I'm not going to put my head in the sand and be like, oh, there's no such thing as a bad call, or there's no such thing as, bad baseball etiquette, to which I just thought of again, baseball etiquette. And with baseball etiquette, right? Logan, I'm going to go to you. As a coach, right? Do you yourself and I'm talking about just from a coach's perspective. Now, I know you said you umpire and everything like that, but from a coach's perspective, do you see your peers establishing baseball etiquette more or less today than it was maybe, I want to say, 20, 30 years ago?
So big part of that, I'm a guy who I have rules for that. I don't see it as much anymore from other teams. Even as a travel ball coach, I've been coaching travel ball as well. The guys that are coming to me, they don't understand the baseball etiquette side of things. It's when I tell them my rules, like my dugout rules and everything, I give them their sheets. It's always a new thing for them. And they're like, well, coach, why? Why do we have to do this? Why can't we talk to the other players? Why can't we talk to the other coaches? There's a reason behind it. I've seen so much in my career as a player, but then also like I took over a team my first year as a coach who was, they wanted to talk. Everyone wanted to talk, and it turned into a lot of fights at our games. And so I don't see it as much now with my peers. In the varsity level, it's a little different though. So I'll say as far as travel ball goes, I don't see it. High school baseball though, especially up here, I do see it, but that's because we've got a lot of coaches who are in their 40 or 50th year coaching at a lot of the schools we play at. So, they have those etiquette rules already instilled in their teams because they've been there for so long. It's just been a thing that they have already.
And sometimes that's not a good thing either. Like those life, I call them lifers. That's been at one school or one team for 30 plus years, let's just say, right?
Right.
And like they're so old school to the fact that like there's a fine line, I guess, between like being too old school to the point where we are starting fights and stuff like that because of it, and then the new school approach to which we're starting fights and bullshit like that still. So so as a coach, like so you mentioned like you have dugout rules and stuff like that. So like how do you like kind of like, I guess, still become old school but yet adapt to these Generation Z and Gen Alpha and all younger generations of kids coming up? How are you able to like balance that out, basically?
Right. So, the big one for me is like, you guys see walk-up songs all the time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with that. I have no problem, but we're not going to do anything to disrespect the facility that we're at. So if they have, like, we play every year, we do a tournament at a Christian college. And they have a rule, like, you can't have any profanity in your walk-up songs. They're cool with everything else. They just don't allow profanity. So that's one thing. Like, we are doing walk-up songs and stuff, but we're not doing anything to incite fights as far as what our songs are. The other big one is I don't allow them to talk bad to the other players or coaches. They can talk, they can have fun. If like my younger kids, if they are giving high fives or whatever, somebody has a good hits a double off of you, you tip your cap to them, but you don't do anything to incite any sort of anger, right? You're not going to talk to, if you're getting to first base, you're not going to talk to the first baseman talking how trash their pitcher is. But I want them to enjoy the game. I just don't want them to do anything that's going to take away from the actual game itself.
So I want to invent, well, not really invent because this word has been around baseball circles for quite a while now. But what you are saying is chirping, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
chirping.
all of us
we're not going to chirp. Yeah.
Chirping, right? So chirping to the other team, other players on other teams and stuff, like that's just a quick way to incite an argument, a dust up, hell, at levels that Seymour and Damien umpire a bench clearing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like, I feel as though that, and other guys in the panel, you can chime in on this at any time as well. I feel like the chirping has gone out of hand to the point where you know, if we as umpires have to get involved, right, then we got issues, right? Because we, and I'm going to say we as officials, right, are there to de escalate, not to escalate even more, right? And that should be the main focus to every single parent that has a child that's playing baseball, right? Is that officials are there to de-escalate first and foremost, right? So if we hear chirping going on, like I guess the most common ones is batter and catcher. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're right by, they're right there next to each other, right? Basically, and you know, you have a you know, two rival teams or whatever, and you know, they start to talk shit, and then you know, the other guy on the other team reacts to that shit talking and then talks shit back to him, and then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, they're at each other's faces and about to fuck each other up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, we step in, and this is the problem I have as well, is that when we try to de-escalate, especially at the younger, now thankfully in the younger age groups, right, we don't see a lot of, you know, chirping face to face and you know what I'm saying, all that, because obviously, you know, coaches a lot of the times is their parent. So, you know, they try to instill to them like, hey, don't start any of that stuff, whatever, whatever. But I think what becomes a big issue is that a lot of those things that happen with kids, actually parents start them. And when the parents, and I'm talking, when I say parents, I'm including coaches in that, because like I said, a lot of the travel ball organizations that are out there are led by dad coaches, right? Coaches that are the player, you know, one of the players' father, usually one of the best players, right? So now, like the etiquette now is that now we got to be teaching the adults, the parents, the coaches, the etiquette on how the things around the game that need to be handled. And one thing I really need to harp on is that now when you, I want all coaches to know, if you're a coach watching this, I want you to know this, right? Y'all should be able, and we get this, right? Y'all should be able to tell what type of umpires you have for that game just by how they present themselves. When I say present themselves, presentation matters, looks wise. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to present ourselves, you know, nicely. We can't look like bums. We can't look like we just roll out of bed, all that type of stuff, right? So if you in Logan as a coach, right, that's what we are first judged on. Y'all are judging us on when we step on that field for that game, how we look, how, you know, how we are, you know, there's guys that still, you know, umpire with the hat backwards, which that's a major pet peeve. You know what I'm saying? If I see, if I'm at a complex and if I see an umpire, you know, umpire with it with his helmet on, hat on backwards, and you know, shin guards exposed, you know what I'm saying? You know how like the commercial umpire, right?
Right.
And it's like you want to yell at them like, hey, turn your hat around. Look, you know what I'm saying? Like look look like you actually belong. You know what I'm saying? You have guys that know they belong, and then you have guys that they shouldn't belong, right? So what I'm saying is that um and like I said, this is not, you know, not bashing anyone in particular, any umpire or whatever, but I just feel like we as a group, right? Since I have umpires here, we should be able to hold ourselves accountable when it comes to our appearance, right? When it comes to um, having to, and I just mean like the uniform. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, no umpire is created equal, and I know I'm being long-winded, but my bottom line is that um, coaches are going to judge, players are going to judge that those umpires for that game on how they appear, and then it trickles down to now the game, how they control, how they handle situations. So I just think that we need to be a little better as far as that goes on all accounts. And let's see.
Can I just ask add something real quick to that? Yes.
Yeah, give me just a second. Let me read a couple of these comments. Okay, Randall CH5KE says, "Why is it that these tournaments even allow mommies and daddies to?" And he also said, "Talk to the umpire." That's a good question. Now, obviously, we're not going to out any organizations, right? We're not going to do that here on this channel because we all work for different organizations, different associations and whatnot. So everything is everyone is different, right? And how they operate within the parameters of the league or the tournaments or whatever. But it's a good question. Now, Dave, you had something?
Yeah, so kind of funny when you talk about how coaches perceive us when we walk onto a field and expect us that if we are professionals that we're going to look a certain way, that our shirts are collared and ironed and our pants have no wrinkles and that we're wearing belts and shoes and black socks and the little things that go on. But, I had an interesting experience myself over this last 12 months. Due to illness and injury, I am forced now to work on my plate games. I have to use an outside chest protector, the old style 70s era balloon. I walk onto a field with at every level of game, whether it's a 10U game or I'm doing, in this case, I did a couple semi-pro games throughout the summer. I'm carrying a balloon. I'm walking out like this, and inevitably, I'll have people snickering, "Oh my God, this must be his first time doing this." But I guarantee by the third inning, those same people are commenting, "Wow, I guess this isn't your first time on a field." So you can turn the attitude around.
So here's my thing about the balloon, right? And for those of you that are new to baseball and all that stuff, because I want to teach as well. Like, so the balloon means that back in the days, right? Old school days, right? Like Dave said, back when Dave was a teenager, back 50, 60 years ago, back when they used to put men on the moon and shit like that.
Oh,
Dave, there used to be a piece of equipment called a pillow, balloon, whatever, and it is on the outside. So it's to protect yourself from being hit by a ball coming off the bat or a pitch ball or whatever. It's to protect you from the ball, right? So my thing is that I feel like, see, I've never used it. My 17 years, I have never stepped back there with that piece of equipment. I've always had a chest protector and the shirt over it, right? So I understand guys using it, especially the older guys. Their bones aren't that strong. Like I'm younger, you know what I'm saying? I can be able to absorb a hit, hit baseball. Not as much anymore because now I got to go to the skull cap because, dealt with like head injuries and stuff like that in the past. But I get why you want to protect yourself at all costs, especially if you are doing multiple games in a day. Now, if you are just doing one like 9 inning game or a 7 inning game, and it's quite a level that, what I'm saying, but at this point in time, we should be able, like the kids are good enough to be able to handle, pitching and catching and hitting and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? More than likely, you're not going to get drilled, right? When you're with older kids, like what I'm saying is like the teen, high school level and college, like we shouldn't be using a balloon, right? But for the younger kids, for kids that are newer into baseball, that that there's a level that is not as elite or not as skilled as the others, I understand it. I understand its purpose, especially.
Well, and I think honestly, it's not really that big of a deal for me. Like I've seen some of our high school umpires using, the pillows or balloons, whatever you want to call them, the foam pad. If I'm being 100% honest, I think if it's going to protect you and it's not going to stop the play of game, because I've had games that got, postponed or pushed back because an umpire gets injured behind the plate for whatever reason, they catch one off the neck or something like that. If you're going to use it and it's not going to stop the play of the game, great. I honestly think there is a reason behind it. if it will keep the game going regardless.
Yeah, like I said, it's very useful. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not ever going to, well, especially at the travel ball level, right? Like I said, multiple games in a day. You're trying to, make your money and obviously call a good game. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, but like you wanna live to the next day because you know what I'm saying. Like for a lot of us, umpiring is a side gig or a something that's not primary. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to get hurt, like you said, a neck or ball get caught under your throat, whatever, or now with these chest protectors that they only go to the bicep and your forearm is exposed. You know what I'm saying? You get a ball hit there, could break bones in your arms, whatever, hands, what have you. I get it, but like I said, now you said you've seen guys at the high school level use it.
Yeah.
I tend to kind of frown upon that, honestly, personally, because, like I said, those kids at that level now, granted, most of us are down here in Florida. You know what I'm saying? The high school down here are pretty good, right? So that means that you're going to have a quality catcher, quality pitcher, what have you, and you're going to go, you know what I'm saying, weeks of games, you don't get touched, right? So, but still, I mean, I just think that like it for some guys, right? I just think that it just doesn't look good, to be quite honest. And like for those that like to just have it and just put it out there in front of them and don't even like get down to get in a good position to see and call balls and strikes, then that's when what I'm saying, people get complacent and lazy when they have that thing in front of them.
But the
Well,
same umpire who doesn't get into position to call up balls and strikes properly with a balloon in front of them is the same umpire who's not going to call balls and strikes properly, even if they had newer style equipment on. The equipment's not
Right.
making that umpire. I hate to disagree with you there. I know the look is bad, and I agree 100%. You were at UPC last year. I went out there that Saturday morning to do a little demonstration. I had my balloon with me that Saturday morning when Dakota and a couple other guys were out on the field with me doing balls and strikes and doing some mechanics. And everybody laughed at me. And I said, you know what? I said, but if I'm calling the same game with it as I would without it, what's the difference? It's the guys who are complacent. And JS, those same guys are going to be complacent no matter what they're carrying out there for equipment.
yeah, so I also want to kind of somewhat play devil's advocate with that. On the, the division, well, on the collegiate level in general, our assigners will tell us self-preservation is paramount. That's number one. So if that's what you need, if you feel that you need to be safe, handle your business. And just to speak to the quality of baseball, now I'm out in Georgia, central Georgia, not central, but northern Georgia, where we got some of the best baseball. But not to take it as a knock, but your travel ball with all of the spin rate and the pitch speed and all of that, kids are just trying to throw hard. Not everybody is accurate. So you got pitchers out here throwing high 80s, low 90s. You got catchers that are scared of their pitcher. So then what you gonna do? So balloon or not, you're gonna get hit. So I would implore you to take any
It's part of the job.
necessary effort. I would
Occupational
implore you to
hazard.
take
I call
necessary
it.
effort
Is it?
to protect yourself.
Is it really part of the job? Because if it is, somebody's insurance should cover my injuries.
Word. Yeah,
I don't
And
have
that's-
any kind of occupational
I don't
insurance
disagree with that, Dave.
I pay for. That somebody
Right.
should have paid for that for me.
Yeah, you're not back there to be a target.
So it's not part of the job.
If you got somebody just trying to throw hard and don't care where that pitch ends up, that's not okay.
What I mean by that, Dave, is that I'm not saying that I'm gonna get back there and I'm gonna get hit 5 times today by baseball. Woohoo! Okay, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that sometimes that ball will do things that players can't handle, and sometimes we're gonna be in the way of that. That's what I mean.
Correct,
Yeah.
and that's why we're all sponsored by Target. Exactly. I mean, because there are Targets back there.
I got you.
And I'm not angry at this. I'm just stating a fact is that there are too many people behind the fence that yell that as part of their response to us getting hurt was, well, screw you, it's part of the job. It's not. It's not an
If
occupational
they're
hazard.
saying that to be a jackass and be a dick, then fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's see them get back there and see if they can handle it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they
And then
won't even last.
let's
Let's be honest. They won't
they
even
get
last.
quiet real quick.
And that,
What'd you
and
say,
I,
Seymour?
Again,
They won't even
For the
last.
guys in the-
Let's be realistic.
Right.
yeah,
for the
wanted
guys
to
on the
speak to the
panel that have
question.
worked with me before, you take shit from behind me, I pull off my mask, I hold it out, and I just stand there and wait for somebody to come take it. Oh, look, I got no takers today. I guess I'll finish this game by myself. Yeah, that's the way we do it because that's the way we do it.
The level of respect for baseball is gone, especially when it comes to the unnecessary rules. Like nowadays, the players are dressed up like it's a fashion show. Who has the most accessories? Who can do this? Who's flashy? There's no fundamentals to the game anymore. A lot of skill set in the game of baseball is now becoming a lost art. Like for example, Ernie, how many times have you seen guys crowd the plate and the catchers don't sit there and say back them off, brush them off? It's a psychological warfare, and we're in an era where we're becoming weak. And what I mean by becoming weak, we're not growing enough balls nowadays. Like back in the day, if you would even made any little kind of disrespect, that dense 5-ounce ball is coming after you. Nowadays, it's like everybody's all friendly and all that. It's like, son, once we're on the field, we're opponents. We shouldn't even know each other like that. But nowadays, it's becoming too friendly. It's becoming too soft. There's like I said, there's little to no respect to the game of baseball and to each other.
May I ask the coaches on the panel, the three of you who are actually coaching or running organizations, how many of your players stand on the edge of a batter's box and lean out over a plate before the pitch? And somebody tell me why the pitchers are not throwing under their shoulders and getting called strikes on the corner?
I think a lot of it has to do with control issues. Especially my 13 U's that I'm coaching now. Most of them never even played rec baseball. Like they just decided one day when they got into middle school or they were in 5th or 4th grade that they wanted to start playing all of a sudden. I think there is a lack of quality coaching at younger levels as well. So you guys had mentioned that backing guys off was a big thing. It was a big thing when I played, but now they just don't have the control to do it, and they're so worried that they're going to hurt somebody that they wouldn't even attempt to anyway.
Like this is an era of power baseball. Let me throw as hard as I can. Let me hit it as far as I can. Not everybody can throw once they get into their mature physique. Not everybody can throw 95, 96, 98, 100, etc. If the guy can max out 88, 89, let the guy be the most effective 88, 89 mile an hour guy that he can be. It's not all about power in this game. Exactly. And with all the sabermetrics that's going about for the last 20, 25 years, it's making the game worse, in my opinion. Because now everybody's worried about what's my launch angle, what's my exit velocity. Those stats don't give you damn wins, period.
No, you're right.
Hit the fucking ball. Did you steal a base? Did you punt the runner over? Did you move the players where you need to? Did you score more runs than the other team?
So Jason, I want you to get in on Dave's question here as a coach and as a travel ball organization owner. Like to Dave's question, like do you teach your kids to pretty much be at the toes on the front edge of the line of batter's box and lean out there and in your pitchers, like if you see hitters doing that, just try to work that inside edge.
We have we've going into our 6th season with the program we've started. We started out with kids that were really good rec ball players that joined us that ended up falling off because of differences in playing time and so forth. But we've been fortunate enough to get kids that play at a high level and want to compete. So whether they're on the field, in the batter's box, or on the mound, they want to beat whoever they're playing, whether it's with their bat or with their arm. So it's, I mean, we're pitching pitchers. We're not bringing guys out there to just pitch. If you're pitching for us, you're a pit. We have guys that come out on Sundays that just pitch, and nobody's going to beat those guys. They're not going to kill umpires. It's we've been fortunate enough to have a large group of guys in each age group to where you have a job. You're not gonna play after the first game on Sunday because your job to throw a complete game on Sunday morning, and then the second pitcher is his job is to do the same thing. So it's we're teaching kids to compete and win every play, every pitch, every at bat, and that's pretty much where we're at as far as development and competing. I mean, do we go out there and win every game, every tournament? Absolutely not. But we're going to go out there and try to beat you every single play, whether it's a pitch, an at bat, or whatever. But to touch back on a couple things and circle back on the chirping, it's got to stay PG-13 at any level, 12, 14, 16, 18. And I agree with chirping because, listen, it can swing a game. If your team or your player or your athlete is not adapted to chirping, it could break them down quick. It can swing a game. I've been a part of games coaching where it's been quiet the whole game, and all of a sudden, bottom of the sixth, the dugout's getting lively, and they're down by 4. Well, that team starts chattering and chirping, and all of a sudden the pitcher's not, dominant anymore, or it swings games both ways. But, it's also, keep it PG-13. And I've got no problem with chirping through the windups, chirping through the, obviously not catcher and batter. I don't agree with that. But PG-13, chirp and talk all game. You have to, because when you get to the high school levels, it just gets more intense, and you're playing higher level games. You're playing higher level athletes, and it becomes a part of the game. I mean, especially if you want to keep going with baseball. Well, after high school, if you're good enough to play at a high level D1 school, you've got 20,000 people behind you that are, cowbells at Mississippi State, or whatever they're doing. But it's noise is a part of the game. And, obviously, if it's PG-13, I don't think anybody should be able to step in and stop it, or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
I do think there's a difference between chirping as far as, another player or a parent from the stands versus your team talking. Like, my teams they're loud, they talk to each other. I just don't allow the back and forth between the teams because I've seen it from both ends as a player and as a coach, and how bad it can get and how bad it can go. Now, obviously, it's all dependent on the other team too and how their coach reacts to it, because I've also had a coach who, my team was talking to themselves, like they weren't talking to any one player on his team. They weren't talking to him as a coach. And I've had a coach turn around and yell at one of my players and grab him by the collar, and that's not okay. So I think there's a fine line between, where the chirping can go. Being loud and chirping, I think there's a fine line between being loud for your team and chirping another team.
Yeah.
Well,
So to Logan's point, we definitely have to take care of the difference between, chirping or chanting and bench jockeying, because there are rules in place against bench jockeying.
Yeah.
We can't allow things to spiral into fights and altercations, as well as Jason speaking about a cowbell. We're not supposed to allow artificial noisemakers either. So the cowbell's supposed to be out of the game. You notice it, you got to get the game manager or your site director to take care of that. So, but the one thing about it, a lot of umpires don't really have the balls to speak up until somebody say something. As long as nobody's complaining, I'm not going to say nothing. No, as an official, we are arbiters of the game to manage the game, enforce the rules, and ensure that no player or team receives unfair advantage. That's all we're there for. All we got to do is do that job.
And I want to
Well,
turn back
and
on
Enforce all the rules,
Managers,
not just the ones we like.
managers of the game, yes. Make sure nobody receives an unfair advantage.
But Blue, you can't call that. It's the last inning. You can't call that back.
I called it in I called it in
It's the last inning.
Or he
though.
doesn't get a warning. What happened to a warning? You know, supposed to warn
He's
him
been
first.
doing that
Blue.
all season.
now,
Well,
these guys that are
had umpires all season that were incorrectly enforcing the rules, but you don't have that
Mhm.
today because you're gonna get it all day, everything.
now you guys that are doing officiating and at travel and high school levels, is it through a organization that organizes the games for you? And do they have like refreshing clinics quarterly or annually or every 6 months or before a season starts to like say quote unquote certify you?
So there is no quote unquote certification, but yeah, there are clinics. Some of them have free 1 day clinics or free maybe weekend clinics, and then there's others you can travel abroad and pay to go to maybe a $300 camp, $400 camp, but you're also being evaluated as a prospect for potential collegiate assignments as well. But there are opportunities to grow and advance within the sport of baseball from an umpire standpoint.
Yes, I like down here we have. If I go, I don't know. I mean, you don't want to shout out any organizations, but there's an organization in Florida where I'm from, where I'm at the Gulf Coast. You've probably heard of them. But anytime I go out there and I see the three initials across their hat, I know we're going to get a good officiated game because they have. I've worked for the organization, and I mean they have you go through clinics, not tests, but they're making sure. I mean, because listen, you're going out there making $550, $600 on a Saturday and a Sunday. Doing 8-9 games at $70 to $90 a game. You better know what you're doing. And that's my problem too is being a coach and knowing 99% of the rules and also umpiring and knowing 99% of the rules. That's the toughest part is going out there to some of these baseball tournaments and going out there and you're handing this guy $80 at the plate. Okay, so there's $160 on the field in umpires for an hour and 40-minute game.
Damn, where they handing out $80 at the plate? I need to work in that
Right.
organization. They
Message
handing
me.
out 80 at the plate because typically it's like 60, 70, give or take. But that's a raise where you at.
I've done an adult league down here for 90. That's 90. That's
Okay.
90, and it's 70 to 90.
And not to cut you off, Jason, but like, damn, I had something and it went away. But you were saying that, how we, I guess, get certified and everything like that. So at the travel, so Damien went along to like, how to advance, like when it comes to going from, let's say, travel ball to high school, or if an umpire is doing both, then like maybe advance to the collegiate level. So like down here especially. So when I first started doing travel ball, I remember we did like twice a year those 1 day, like Damien was saying, those 1 day clinics, right? To to sharpen up your skills, see pitches, whatever, talk about positioning and stuff like that. But the problem is that since those clinics, there's no incentive to be there, basically, guys are not going to show up. And that's the problem, is that guys.
Go ahead, sorry.
Right. No, you're good. So, like, let's say, like, we're in January right now, right? As we're recording this episode, right? So January should be a perfect time to conduct, weekend long, I'll say at the minimum a weekend, right? Commit to a weekend to go and get people together, go over some things about the last season that we need to address and everything like that, and go on the field and run situations, right? Or control games or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Especially for those that are newer to umpiring that want to get into it and see that. But what they don't teach you at these clinics is how to handle misconduct from players, misconduct from coaches, and especially parents. We can give you all the stories to your blue in the face all we want, right? We got stories for a whole fucking weekend to explain to y'all about a certain situation that happened at this game and with this parent or with this coach. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? You hear enough of that to realize that oh damn, is that bad? I don't know if I want to sign up for all that bullshit that I got to go through on the weekend. And also, it's like, I want to go out there and make money. You know what I'm saying? I want to go out there and just get by. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we got, I guess my thing is that yes, those clinics and stuff are useful, right? But again, like I said, it's only useful to guys that want to get better, that want to advance, that want to see more income come in because, you know what I'm saying? I feel as though that there should be some type of incentive program for, for guys that do well. Well, at the collegiate level, our incentive is you advance to higher levels, but also you get postseason. You get certain conference series that, that are the money, like the big headline type of series. You know what I'm saying? Those are the incentives that we get from, from working college ball. There's none of that in travel ball because all the same teams, all the same product is coming in every weekend and you get the same quality of ball.
Yeah, I mean,
and let me add to that real quick to Logan and Jason, because you guys are both involved in travel coaching. If we did a tiered experiential level of training and umpiring based on what you're putting out on the field. So, for instance, if your 13U games were not officiated with the experience of your 16 and 18U games, would you be happy paying the same amount of money each week?
Well, so I want to add something on there. I wanted to bring that up earlier. I'm glad you said something. So my organization that I coach for is a little different. We run all of our own tournaments, and we have different age groups and levels, from 8U all the way up to, I think our highest right now is a 15 because my 18's just graduated. But we do tiered level travel ball, and the price is reflected off of that because obviously we run all of our own tournaments. So the cost is on us, and we just cover the cost of it. And we're really focused on developing players as well. So it's not as much about the money as it is the experience and all of our tournaments that we do. So let's say I'll take my 18s that I had last year, for instance. My 18s last year, we had MHSAA umpires every weekend. There was no, we didn't have any high schoolers coming through. We didn't have any guys who weren't MHSAA certified, nothing like that. And that's how it is from 15 to 18. Now, my 13Us, we're going to get some high school guys. But on Fridays before our tournaments, because we only run Saturday, Sunday tournaments aside from a select few, on Fridays, anyone who's going to umpire that weekend is required by us to come, and we do like a refresher with MHSAA umpires. The guys who own this organization are close with some of the MHSAA umpires. They come through, they do a refresher on Friday, and then us tournament directors, so I direct some of the tournaments for the association as well. We also have to go through that, and the coaches, we're handed a list like, hey, listen, anything he says is what it is. We can't argue. We can't, go through and start anything. If we have an issue, we have to create a formal grievance, and then we talk about it and we figure it out from there. So I will say there is a way around it. It's just a lot of organizations aren't going to do that, and a lot of circuits aren't going to do that because they don't have the time. They don't want to put in the energy to do it. But we're really focused on putting quality baseball out there. As far as
You are
team and
entirely the
umpire.
exception and not the rule. You are absolutely the exception and not the rule nationwide.
Yeah.
And I've worked in 46 states. I would love to have more of you. I would love to clone you throughout the country just to go one weekend a quarter and actually speak to people, to do something like this, like we've got together right now. Let's find a way to get this message out, because I'm telling you, there are so many organizational leaders, and I'm not going to drop names, but one of them is the brother of a old-timer MLB Hall of Famer. He's been running the USA Elite Academy for the last 17 years, and he would love to be able to put something in place like you just described, Logan. And even he runs up against pushback from his families and the people around him that say, no, we can't do it that way. We have to do it the same way that the other organizations are doing.
Well, and that I think is a bigger problem in and of itself, because like I said, up here, we do have kids who didn't pick up a baseball until they were in 4th or 5th grade and decided they want to play. So for us, making all the rules, we filter everyone that comes through our tournaments. We're filtering all of the players that we have, because if you're not going to put the time and effort into it, we don't want you on our teams. And that's not hate towards anyone. It's just, we want to put the quality out there. And the guys who own this organization, I played for them back in the day, and that's how I ended up getting involved with them. And even when I got to college, the stuff that they instilled wasn't the same. Even when I got to pro ball, the stuff that they were doing with their organizations wasn't the same, and it was a big culture shock for me. And, I'll say it right now, I was probably just lucky that I got to grow up like that and play in a situation like that.
I think down here it's too. All
right, Jason goes, and then we're gonna move on to another topic. Go ahead.
I think down here it's too big to do something like that with officiating, because I can think of just 6 hosts that in season have 50 teams in a tournament. So say 300 teams across the state of Florida lowballing on a weekend, that is going to require 400 to 500 umpires for that weekend to make that happen. But then try to get everybody together, periodically. Peninsula baseball umpires, they do a really good job. Have you heard of PBU?
Not that I can think of. I can't say that I have.
Peninsula baseball umpires does a really good job with how they run things, and I haven't worked for them in a year and a half, so I'm not blowing them up or doing any advertising for them, but they do a really good job as far as putting umpires on the field that know what they're doing. And the expectations from what I've experienced is you're getting the same quality of umpires from 10U up to high school, because they do the scheduling over here in the Gulf Coast for the FHSAA. And now that as big as travel ball's gotten down here, it's hard to get everybody on the same page. When I was a kid, there wasn't travel ball. It was AAU, Amateur Athletic Union. That was it. And there was no tiered levels. It was just, if you had to be the best of the best to play AAU, like volleyball, basketball, baseball, whatever. Now it's not like, AA, AAA, open, majors. It's getting crazy down here.
So hold on, Logan. I know you had a point, but you are playing, Jason. You are playing along to my next topic, and I'm going to put it up on the board here. Is that how do we get so goddamn watered down with this travel ball?
That's easy.
And I know that, and we all know what we mean by watered down, right? Watering down the product to the point where, like I said earlier, like we're just letting any and everybody play travel ball just because it's travel ball and you get to experience that. But I know Logan, you wanted to harp on Jason's point from earlier, but and this is, and if you want to start, Logan, go ahead. But
Well,
how do we get here? In your
well, it
opinion?
actually, what I was gonna say actually kind of goes into this. You know, we back in the day we had rec ball and we had VFW ball. You know, when you would go and play for the VFWs, they would sponsor your team, and that was about it. And then you had Pony League when you got to middle school. But I think a big part of it now, and I've seen it, you know, I had two kids for me that used to play for me where, you know, they weren't the best players. They weren't getting a ton of playing time because I've always run on the feeling that, like, if you're the best, you're going to be on the field. But their dads had enough money that they just go out and they start their own team. And then they just pull people in. Whoever wants to come and play, they're going to come and play, and they're going to pay, you know, however much money, and they're going to get cool uniforms and go to all these tournaments, but they're going to get blown out of the water every time because their kid didn't want to play on a somewhat decent team or a pretty good team because he wasn't getting enough playing time.
That's how it's growing, just like that.
Yeah.
So
Daddy ball.
again, we go back to the money driven aspect, right? Because you have these parents that have the money to pony up a team and try to compete, but yet then they're and this is another thing, like I think with travel ball, like, you know how, you know, there's a tier system to where, like, especially in college and pro ball, you know, there you have your tiers, right? If you're gonna water down travel ball, then have some sort of like tier system. You know what I'm saying? Have some sort of like system in place to, and with all the, like, the open, like especially down here in Florida, they in certain organizations do the what's called the age group, and it's open, so any team can come in and compete for that weekend, and then it fucks up the product because now you're just letting in teams like you were saying, Logan, is that you can pony up some money. You know, I think it's like $300 to $500 or whatever. Pay for 3-game guaranteed weekend, and you're gonna get beat like 60 to 2 throughout the whole 3 games of that weekend, and you're done, you know, early Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, what good is that for your organization, number one, for the product, number two, and for the association that you're playing under?
The larger organizations that are hosting travel ball tournaments down here in Florida, they do have the tiered level, double A, triple A, open, majors, and the large.
But Jason, the problem is that with the open system, right? It now, and yes, I do know about the, you know what I'm saying, they do only for that level, right? But for the opens, right? Now I get that, you know what I'm saying, they want to have everyone gets a chance to win, right? That mentality, right? I get it. But when is it to a point to where, like, okay, this team or this group of teams aren't good enough to play at the major level? You know what I'm saying? Because I know that if they accumulate a certain amount of points or whatever, they move up, or if they lose amount of points, they move down or whatever. But with this whole open thing, I think that's the issue. What we keep running into is that you're going to develop more teams, and more teams are going to go into the open and thinking that, oh, they can compete with said other teams, and then they realize that they can't.
No, from what I've been around it now, and I mean, years in it, the open division, from how I see it, is based off of how many teams are in that age bracket. So if we go into a tournament next weekend and there's not 20 teams in it, and it's not broken, say if there's 20 teams in it, there's 12 AAA teams, they'll be in their own bracket. And if there's 8 AA teams, they'll be in their own bracket. All right. But if we go into a tournament, there's only 7 teams in that tournament, in that age bracket, it's going to be an open division. So that's going to be,
Jason,
go ahead.
Jason, in Florida, we have 4 major sanctions that run travel baseball tournaments.
Yep.
We can all agree there are top 4. I mean, there's a whole lot of smaller groups, but there's 4 major groups. 2 of them do not have tiers where it's AA, AAA open. The top 2, everything is pay to play now. It used to be they would have an occasional invite tournament throughout the year where only the better teams that had performed got invited to come to a tournament, but even those are gone. And the other 2 organizations, yes, while they do have tiers for AA, AAA, and open, and most of their tournaments are separated based on the number of entrants in each age group, the bottom line is those 2 travel organizations are really nothing more than extended rec ball for a lot more money.
Correct.
Because they're not competitive baseball organizations.
Correct. And like I said, we have parents that are like, oh, why aren't we playing in these tournaments? Listen, it's you want to go. Every kid wants to go to school with those 2 letters on their shirt or their hat, okay, and say they played at this tournament. I've been to smaller hosts and gotten smoked by teams that I didn't think were that good. And then we've gone and we've paid to be in these $1,200 tournaments. And I'm like, I'm trying to explain to these parents, this is no different than what we're already doing. It's just, your kid's just not going to be on a website and have a rating. All right. It doesn't matter, especially with especially with everybody getting more integrated online and offering metrics now and social medias and stuff. It's more, I don't know. It's more of a like a Walmart, versus Shaq versus Jordan shoes. Honestly, is what I'm going to compare it to, as far as what travel ball wants and needs with these people down here, especially at the level we play too.
And the school systems aren't helping either.
I'm sorry?
I said, I just want to add that the school systems aren't helping either. I don't know how it is up by you guys in the northern part of the state. For you, JS, in Tampa or in Pasco. But I can tell you down in South Florida, in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, we're about to open up our 9th baseball-only high school institute in June.
We just
There's
had
9 of them now in South Florida. That kids don't even go to class anymore. They just wake up and play baseball.
And that's something that needs to be discussed too. And we'll get right into that. Is that these academies that the kids homeschool, and then they go to a facility or to an academy or something like that, or stuff like that, and they train, they play and stuff like that. And yes, I saw you with this, Jason. Yes, that is also driven by the almighty dollar. And
who's paying for it?
Say that again?
The state of Florida, like the academy that's by me, has taken probably the top 70% of the baseball athletes around here and drug them into their academy. Little do they know they're not FHSAA regulated or sanctioned, so anything they do will not go against any records, any record books, anything as far as the FHSAA rules. You're not playing real high school games. You don't even get your own tournament. It's up to the academies to put their own postseason tournament together and then call themselves the state academy champions.
I don't think they even give a fuck about the whole we want to be
no,
sanctioned.
that's the people running the academies. But if I'm a kid and I'm going to go out there and offer my abilities, and it's not going to be anywhere on record anywhere, that's crazy, But again, it's the people behind the scenes of the academies that listen. They're getting big money per child because they're running a homeschool educational program while playing baseball And I've already seen 2 kids that have played with me that joined the academy and dropped out and are now back enrolled in high school because they are strictly baseball, 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 and the child's parents is like, listen, my child's academics is going to be first, and they're not getting it. But I mean, it is a big business. I mean, I'm talking your kid's worth probably $10,000 to $12,000 a year from the state of Florida. That you're going to get that check to do whatever you want.
The number is actually 40% higher than that. It's $16,000 a year that these academies receive per child.
Great.
But here's the best, and JS, this has to be a topic for another day, of whether or not these athletes are student athletes or athletic students. What comes first?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
no,
and
most
so
definitely. That is a great point. Yep.
But some of these
we'll do
parents
that at the next address.
You have so many kids that's being pressured to try to be better, and it's difficult. It's bad enough that they're trying to be successful in a game of failure, and the pressure of these parents don't help. It doesn't help matters. They treat them like lottery tickets. They all think they're Brock Lesnar's the next big thing, and it's not the case. Some of them just don't belong in the game. Simple as that. But the pressure is enormous, and then you may not see it on the field, but outside the field, it may be catastrophic. It'd be really detrimental. So it's a lot of pressure just for even focus on just baseball, thinking that that's going to be your entire life and career.
Well, and it kind of goes back to the culture from outside of the U.S. that has kind of jump-started that. You know, I went to college with guys who are from the DR, from Puerto Rico, from Japan, and that's their whole life. I mean, like, especially in Japan. I don't know if he wants to be said on here or not, but I was just talking to a buddy of mine that I went to college with. He's from Japan, and his whole life, up until he was, I think, 15 when he moved to the States, you know, he started playing baseball, and it was nothing but baseball the entire time. And Japan's really big into that, along with, you know, the DR and Puerto Rico as well. You know,
I get that, especially with the Japs. They're really disciplined people. I've seen some of their workout regimens, so they're really strict with their discipline.
The point of that was we've seen a huge upflux in, you know, national players as far as people from the DR outside of the U.S. We've seen a higher upflux in players coming to the States, playing in the MLB, playing in the minors, whatever the case may be, playing at colleges even. And I feel like that's what has jump-started that. Now here in Michigan, we don't have any sport-only academies. What they end up doing is they end up starting religious schools, because religious schools, they're private schools. They have to pay to go there, but they do something similar. They focus on mainly sports. Now, I'm not saying that's every single one. There are definitely some that are really high up there in the academic section, but that's what a lot of it has gotten to now. And I think that's the upflux, and the reason why is because they see the culture outside of the U.S. and how many baseball players they're producing, and parents feel like their kids could be that guy if they had the same, you know, the same upbringing.
But it's not guaranteed, though. Like, I get it, but it's just like...
No, but you have to think, you know, you had made the comment, and I agree with it. You made the comment about parents feeling like their kids are like a lottery ticket. You know, if you're in that mindset already, why wouldn't you pay the extra money for him to go to an academy or wherever to do nothing but play baseball and get an online education?
As long as the kid enjoys it, but there are some kids up there that just become miserable because of that pressure. There are some who actually enjoy it and love what they do for a living, but there are just some that just like, damn, like, when is this going to stop? Like, the hell?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jason. That's all right.
There's some demographics that you're saying that like are lottery tickets. We've got, I mean, listen, the best kids on my team, okay, they're the, you know, less, you know, financially fortunate families. All right. That's how it always is. And they're those are the ones that people, and they don't have the funds. See, I think the funds are in the wrong hands sometimes, especially when it comes to sports. You know what I mean? Because listen, there's kids that play travel ball at these academies that are paid that are paying to play. All right, and they're the double A team. Okay, the majors team is being funded by the kids' dads that are paying on the double A team. All right. Meanwhile, if the roles were reversed and the better players had the money that the other kids had, it would be a different story. So the other kids that we have on our team that are Puerto Rican and from DR that play with us, those are the kids that their parents are looking at like their meal tickets. And like we'll have them for 1 or 2 seasons, and then another travel ball team will reach out to their parent or them directly, which is crazy. And then we'll be playing against them the following season. But we just have to
That's the way it goes.
pull their shoe in before we lose them, because we're if you're not CBA 5-star or any of those bigger travel ball teams, you're a feeder for them. You're the farm team for the big guys, pretty much.
Jason, there's some great stats out there that go along with that. If we took, and I'll use Logan, I'll use one of your locals out there in Michigan, because I'm going to use University of Michigan Stadium. That football facility seats 110,000, right? If we filled that with baseball players, with seniors in high school playing baseball this year, out of the 110,000 in the stands, 4 of them will be drafted by a Major League Baseball team. 4 out of every 100,000 kids that plays gets drafted.
Crazy.
Think about that.
It's a long shot.
Okay, these parents think that paying to go to an academy or paying to be on a top tier travel tournament group, they're being sold a dream that is so far beyond actually hitting the lottery, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
DG, get in there. You had something? Looked like you kind of had something.
No, I'm just listening. I'm enjoying the commentary. I don't really have
okay. You perked up like you was finna explain something, say a point, but all right, I got you. All right, so all good stuff, guys. I mean, man, the money aspect of it is crazy. How can we manage it better? You know what I'm saying? Like, what in your opinion, Jason and Logan, guys being coaches and stuff like that, and travel ball organization owners, like how can we manage it better? You know, for lack of a better question, when it comes to money in travel ball.
Do it yourself.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all I have to say. Just do it yourself.
Well, and that's kind of what I was going to get into. You know, unless we have a governing body that actually regulates everything in the travel ball world, it'll never get to the point where it won't be money driven. I mean, you see it all the time. It doesn't matter where you play, who you play for. You know, money is everything to a lot of these bigger companies that are running tournaments and running teams and everything. You know, for us, obviously, it's not as big here in Michigan because we can only play baseball for 3 months or 4 months out of the year. But, you know, especially moving down south, it's a big deal. And I've played in a lot of the big tournaments and gone to a lot of the big tournaments, you know, down in Tennessee, Illinois, stuff like that. But unless there's a governing body that's ruling over all 50 states and travel ball in all 50 states, it'll never get to a point where it won't be money driven. You know, even
so in a perfect world, right? Okay, so let's play with this, right? So, perfect world, governing body that all 50 states control the travel ball. What would that look like to you?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have any feeder teams for one. I mean, Listen, if your kid's good enough to play travel ball, then he's good enough to play, and you guys all pay the same. You know, you shouldn't have, and I'm not sympathizing or saying one way or the other that it's a good or a bad thing, but when you have feeder teams the way that they do now, it creates, you know, you see the feeder team, you see the guys that are getting all the free gear and going to all these big tournaments and everything. You go to play for them, and it's a name thing. They love the name that they're playing for, so they don't care that they're feeding into it. So you don't have any of those feeder teams, and it's just the best guys play. Maybe you split it up by region, like the Little League World Series does, where you're split up by district, and that's what team you play for. And however you have to do it, I feel like that would be probably the best way to do it and keep you from getting to that feeder team section. You don't have guys coming from all over the state. You have whoever's in your district plays for X travel ball team, and maybe you have a couple in the same district they can choose between. But,
Anybody else want to jump in on this question? Like, if you were, if you had the authority to govern, travel ball in all 50 states, what would that look like to you?
I don't think it would be possible. I know organizations that are.
So let's make it possible for you, Jason. If we're just like, how would you try to make it possible?
I wouldn't even entertain it because it's not, and it would warp my head. It's too great. Listen, Little League is competing with travel now. I've been coaching at the same recreation park through Little League for 14 straight years, and Little League is doing their own travel thing in the springtime. They're playing double headers on Sundays with the best of the best in their Little League. All right. And then now Little League used to be boundaried. Okay. And now, but it's Little League, you have boundaries. Okay. But if you live over here and go to this school, you can play over here. All right. And if this program doesn't offer softball, but we offer softball, you can bring your softball player and your baseball players and play here. Okay. And then now a new one from last year, if you're under the age of 8, you're given 2 seasons to pick where you want to play. Okay. Anywhere in the district. And you can play at that park with those rules. I agree with that right there too. Yeah.
So I do have a point I want to kind of speak to that. Just like where Jason said, it's most likely not even possible. So it's more of like a correlation type of statement. But that's just like with our NCAA baseball. Every 2 years, we got rule changes that the coaches vote on. The changes of rules that are either implemented or changed or whatever the case may be. But before the upcoming season even starts, several of these coaches are looking for ways to circumvent the rules that they voted to put in place. So if they start working on some type of districting stuff to kind of work the whole travel ball system, the coaches or people that put that whole thing in place are gonna instantly look for ways to circumvent the rule to make it work out on their behalf. So just like Jason saying, I don't believe it'll work because there's constantly going to be people looking for ways to bend the rules to make it work for their party. And that's just how things go. Just like I said, you see it from the college baseball. They literally vote on rules to put in place just to look for ways around the rule that you voted to put in place.
Yep. Anybody else want to chime in before I get to my last topic for the night? And it's a big one.
Well, me personally, I feel when it comes to travel ball, and I always said this: if I ever would be a coach, I said everyone needs to learn how to pitch, and if everybody needs to learn how to pitch, everyone needs to learn at least 3 pitches: a 4-seam, a 2-seam, and a changeup of their choosing. Too many times have I seen young cats throw sliders and curveballs and all that, and they end up getting Tommy John in their young careers, or have a messed up rotator cuff, some type of arm injury. There's no there should be some lessons on fundamentals on how to pitch, how to field, how to hit. Everyone's being too extra and trying to be too cute for the sake of statistics and sabermetrics, not for what's good for the development of this kid, or what's good for what could help our chances, to get in the team a victory. There's just lack of fundamentals, honestly, and it should start with pitching, because there's like Torres and Dave, both y'all. How many times have we did these games, and with all due respect to some of these players, it's shitty because of horrible pitching.
Well, I mean, how do you teach a 16-year-old? How do you explain to him and his family that this kid is going to be your long reliever? And if you don't need a long reliever in a game, your kid's not going to play today.
At some point, at some point, it has to be told to them, like, we need to stop being soft. Like, the hell.
Yeah, we are soft.
At the end of the day, if he's not qualified to be a starter, if he belongs in the bullpen, that's his role. Like, not everybody can be a starter. Not everybody can sit out there and start almost all 140, 162 games, whatever the case may be. You may have to be a backup. You may have to be in the bullpen. That's the way it goes. If you got a problem with it, work harder.
So,
Right,
Jason, hold on. Question for you before you go. So, in a given calendar year, and Logan, I'm going to ask you this too, and this is going to be, comparison to Florida and Michigan. How many, if you can accumulate the number of games you played in a calendar year from January 1 to December 31, with your age group of teams, like, or give her like a rough estimate of how many games do y'all play?
I'll tell you right now. Give me 1 second. We don't play games in January. We take off January and we take off August.
But in a full calendar year of games.
Give me 1 minute. I'm pulling up Game Changer right now. So,
all right, Logan, while you do that, Logan, what do you think your guess is?
Right. So my 13Us this year will play a little over 50 games. My 18s from last year, we played 40-ish. A little less than 40 maybe. And that's a
month in Florida.
Well, and you got to think, so that's just my travel ball guys. Now, obviously, my high school guys played, I want to say it was 36 games, and then most of my high school guys were on my 18 travel team. And so grand total, if you combine the two, it would have been closer to 60, 70.
Okay.
We're playing in a summer.
Got it.
In a spring/summer and a fall/winter, on between the ages of 14 and 15U, we're playing 75, 80 games.
And so like rough estimate, like around 60 to 80 games, right? And
Probably.
To see my point, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to tell kids, like, hey, take this game off? You threw the last, like, 2-3 games, we need to save your arm. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, we have.
How do you entice a parent? So if I'm that child's parent, right? You know what I'm saying? I want to see my kid play every single game, right? That's just the parent in me, right? But as coaches, like, how do you explain to parents, especially parents of POs now, they call it pitcher only guys, that your kid's not pitching either today or this weekend or whatever, because it's a lot of usage. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need that arm every single game. Like, you don't, like a college or professional team is not going to use their best arms every single game, unless it's in a situation to where you have to use it because your season's on the line. Typically, your season ain't on the line in travel ball. Your weekend could be on the line, especially on Sundays and especially on the week-long tournaments, like whenever bracket play starts, right? But how often does that happen?
We have Saturdays. We have guys. Everybody, all our relievers and closers are everybody's throwing 2 innings on Saturday. Now and then Sunday, our starters pitch, and we're hoping to get a whole game out of them. So they didn't.
Even though they threw 2 the day before?
No, sir. No. Sunday pitchers are just pitching Sunday. So it's, I mean, occasionally if they had a real good first and second inning.
I see a lot of teams do that nowadays too. So
yeah, and POs, we don't charge POs to play for us because you're only going to pitch. You know, I mean, you're only going to pitch. As far as position players, if you're not cut out to, I mean, listen, and especially at higher level tournaments and higher level play, there's not a lot of shit going on in the field. You know, I mean, we're playing a lot of games where there's 3 and 4 hits on each side of the, you know, there's a lot of standing around and hoping the ball comes to you when you're in the field. So if you can't do that, you know, don't even bother coming out. I mean, it's not Little League where you're having to back up, you know, hoping he misses a ball so you get a chance to back it up. You know, you're having, you know, maybe 4 or 5 fielding opportunities in a 5 or 6 game weekend because of the, you know, the pitching level or whatever. But, you know, from an arm standpoint and health for the child or athletes, you know, we've got, you know, everybody on our team almost pitches. And, you know, we're going to use everybody Saturday and then the starters pitch Sunday.
Well, so for us, it's a little different. We, like I said earlier, we run our own tournaments. We have limits as to what somebody could throw on a Saturday and still throw on a Sunday. So, you know, I don't necessarily have just guys that are going to throw on Saturday or just guys that are going to throw on Sunday. Now, if I have a guy who threw on Saturday, he's not going to play the rest of the day, but he could still potentially throw on Sunday depending on how he's feeling. That also goes for my catchers too. I was a catcher in high school, college, pro ball, and I remember the days that, like, you know, I'm throwing more than most of the pitchers, or I'm throwing the same as most of the pitchers, and I'm throwing with intensity more than they are, you know, because there are times where they're going to throw and then they're going to go sit down and then they're going to come back out and it's not going to be the same intensity, but every single one of my throws is going to have to be the same intensity.
All right, so
that,
and not to cut you off, Logan, so I do want to get to my last topic because I know that DG has to get off pretty soon, and I'm gonna throw it to him first. Is that so now obviously I wanted to have my guys Damien and Seymour on the panel, you know, not because they're handsome looking men, but they're also melanated looking men as well. Hey, don't blow your head. I ain't trying to blow your head up, DG. Now stop the pause. You know what I'm saying? But what I am saying is that this right here. What can we do to entice more black people to play baseball? Simple as that.
I actually the school.
Well, before you go, I want to throw it to DG first because I know I really want him to get his opinion on this topic before he has to bounce. So go ahead, DG. The floor is yours. How can we entice more blacks to play baseball?
I don't think it's solely black, but more of our basically more or less like the non-Caucasian. I'm at a loss for words at the moment, but minority, more of our minority players, because you know, not trying to be too racial, but realistically, we're a lot more athletic, and athleticism-wise will trump any other ethnicity, more or less. So if we could develop the fundamentals to go with the natural athleticism, yeah, I mean, minorities can take over most sports, but you still have to make it attractive enough for them to want to play the off-brand sports. Everybody wants to chase after basketball and football. Like, it's ridiculously oversaturated on people trying to make it to the top or upper echelon of those two sports primarily. But
and I tell, and not to cut you off, DG, but I tell, especially black parents, minority parents, that hey, your child may have a better shot in making it into baseball than basketball or football because the watered down level in those two sports is to the point where, like, you're probably not, unless you're the it kid. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the, you can dunk a basketball at, 12, 13 years old, or you can throw a spiral 75 yards at that same age as well. More than likely, you're not going to, be highly recruited or highly seen, because it's a whole shit ton of y'all, playing the sport too and trying to get there where you want to get. But I just wanted to add that in. My bad for cutting you off.
Yeah,
It
I
depends
mean,
on where you're at.
yeah,
That plays a factor too.
Travel football is just as big as travel baseball is down here in Florida.
yeah. But I'm just saying, from a just a general consensus standpoint, you already have the athleticism. If you actually can develop the passion to develop the IQ and fundamentals, I mean, the sport can take you as high as you'll allow it. Like, I've come across players that, they were really exceptional. They had great attitudes. I mean, Caucasians and minorities, and I have no problem, you know, facilitating for a player. Like, look, you have the potential to be as good as you allow yourself to be. Like, literally in this sport, nothing can stop you but you. And a lot of people just need somebody to speak that into them and breathe that type of life into them. Because a lot of people, they just get a whole lot of negativity. You need to be better at this. You need to be better at that. You're not as good as this guy. No, give them some positivity. Give them some reason to go out and work hard, and show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, give them something to work hard for.
I think it's choice. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at my baseball team, you go on our Facebook page, Pasco Connect Baseball, and you look at we look like we had a United Nations baseball meeting. I mean, we got black kids, Mexican kids, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, whites. I think it's a choice. I mean, you go to the hood around here and you ask a black kid on the street what he wants to play, football or baseball, he's going to play football. And it's a choice, and it's also depends on where you're at. If you're in Kansas, baseball might seem appealing because there's not too many, say minorities on a football team in Kansas. So let me try baseball out. But when you're in an inner city area, football's going to trump anything, and I don't think it really matters if you're black or white. It depends on your area.
I can agree to that. I also believe that money plays into a factor. Um, Baseball is an expensive sport when it comes to equipment. Not taking anything away from other sports such as hockey or football. With basketball, all you really need to do is go to Walmart, get a basketball, and start shooting hoops. It's that simple. The same thing goes for football, minus the helmets and the other equipment. With baseball, you got to buy yourself the glove, you got to buy yourself a ball, you got to buy yourself a bat. You got to also include at least a good 6, 7 other people to partake in that game that you want to practice with. And when it comes to us per se, we don't have that kind of connection with that sport anymore. We used to dominate that sport, respectively saying. Now it's like I consider football and basketball showboating sports because that's all we're notorious for doing. We can't showboat as much in baseball or in hockey or whatever like we could in football. How we get to do all these crazy touchdown dances, how we get to show how flamboyant, how graceful. The same thing with basketball with the dunks. We don't get that kind of spotlight, so to speak, that you do with football and basketball that you do with baseball. The last good black dude we had that was popular in baseball was Griffey. The last good one that we've seen so far was Brandon Phillips. So, like, even with MLB, you got less than 8% of the people of the roster is black. It's really hard for the blacks to come back to the game, especially when you have the music industry predominantly dominant with just those two aforementioned sports that I said.
Well, and see, there's another little difference here too, because I actually coach at an inner city high school, and a majority of our teams, or a majority of our team is a minority race, whether it be African American, Mexican, whatever. Like, you know, we don't have a ton of white kids on our teams. And also, we try to do everything we can to make it affordable for players up here. You know, last year, some of my 18s, they were paying like $300. That covered their entry into all of the tournaments. And then we gave them everything else for free. Or we run, you know, fundraisers, whether it be can drives or, you know, asking for donations or anything like that. And it really boils down to how the coach and the organization themselves are going to entice kids to play. Because obviously, like, I walked into the high school that I work at now, and it wasn't a big thing for the minority races. However, I made sure that they understood the point behind it. I brought up the facts of, you know, baseball offers more scholarships, especially now that every single scholarship player or every single player on a team is on scholarship at the D1 level for baseball.
Right.
There are more scholarship opportunities, and it's a way for them to get out of that inner city area. So there are ways of enticing more minorities to come and play the sport specifically. And if you make it affordable and you do your best to make it affordable, then they're going to come and play no matter what.
But our team's doing their best to make it affordable.
I don't think every team is. You know, obviously up here, I care about all of my players regardless. So if it's not affordable for them, then I'm going to do everything I can to make it affordable. But there are a lot of coaches that it comes back to the money side of it. You know, it's going to make them less money, so they don't want to do it.
Anybody else on the topic?
Well, I'll just piggyback on what he says. Like, you don't need to buy $200, $300 bats to be good. You don't need to buy $200 gloves to be good. Get yourself a decent quality glove, a decent quality cleats. Like, I still have my $60 glove, and it's been good for me for like a good 3-4 years. It's been reliable and dependable. You don't need high pricing accessories or equipments to be a good player.
Well, now piggyback off of that, you know, in high school and college, the same bat that I used, I got for $60 from Dunham's. Like, it was the bat that sent me, you know, it came with me, and that was what I used because it was what I felt comfortable with. But I got it for cheap, and there are always deals around, and there's always somebody who's selling something. Like, nowadays we have Facebook Marketplace, we have what's the baseball trading website or whatever, where people are selling stuff for cheap. You just got to be willing to look for it.
No, facts.
And get the word out. Yeah, and this, like I said, this right here has been very, very useful and helpful to be able to get that word out and express, you know, our thoughts and opinions to our baseball loving audience, because this, like I said, this is a much, like I said, this is a much needed discussion that we need to do, I would say, periodically, so that way we can keep up and we can be able to improve our great sport and not, you know, let it see it crumble to the ground like I feel like it has been, especially at the youth and travel ball levels. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do final thoughts. I know Jason has to exit soon, so I'm going to start with you. And then I'm going to go Dave next, and then Seymour, and then Logan. Go ahead, Jason.
No, it was, I think everything we talked about was, you know, on topic and up to date with what's taking place with officiating and youth baseball. You know, it's something that will be an ongoing. We'll be able to talk about it forever because it'll never get fixed. At least where we would want it to be, you know. So, but it was a good time and nice meeting all of you.
All right, yeah, nice meeting you too, man. And we'll probably cross paths out here since, you know, we're basically in the general area. So yeah, looking forward to meeting you in person or out on the fields and stuff. And talking more about this later on. So appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. I'll listen to you guys off screen. Have a good one.
All right. Who did I say? Well, Dave, go ahead. Your final thoughts.
Well, first of all, JS, thank you, and thank you to the panel. I think we had some amazing dialogue over the last 2 hours. I hope
I
for
agree.
anybody who might be watching and did not participate that you'll share this link with friends and family and anybody you know in the baseball community, because this is the type of dialogue that's helpful to everybody. So if we want to sum it up, the state of youth baseball, I'll tell you what, after sitting here with six of you and having this dialogue, I can easily say, while the state of youth baseball may appear dismal on the outside, it is really strong because of the foundation people like us have given this game and will continue to give it.
Amen. Amen. Love it, Dave. Seymour, final thoughts.
Oh. Almost. No,
Should I
no,
save you for last?
it's
You know
serious.
what? No. I'm gonna save your ass for last because I feel like you gonna have some shit to say. All
Fair
right,
enough.
so
Fair
let me.
enough.
You gonna be the finale, Logan. I'm gonna go to you. What are your
Yeah,
final?
so my final thoughts on the topics that we talked about today. Honestly, it was fun to hear how things work in other states, on a day-to-day basis, not just for one tournament or one weekend or whatever. I'm glad that we were able to get together and really talk about the differences. I think it was eye-opening to me to understand a little bit more of the travel ball situation down south, and I feel like it was helpful for you guys to hear my situation and where we're at up here as well. So, other than that, I think we just got to keep working towards making baseball safer for one, umpires, officials, and also creating a culture that allows our players and our coaches and our umpires to really grasp the game of baseball and exceed their expectations and really learn and grow with it.
Very nice. Very nice. Yep. All right, Seymour, you ready? What you got?
Yeah.
Final
Let me
thoughts.
get this out the way. Bottom line, the game needs to really get back to fundamentals at the end of the day. I think it's becoming a lost art in this game, and it's something that needs to be addressed to even make the game even more entertaining and have more people coming back. And then with that, the quality will come up, and then we'll get better officiating. We need to spread more knowledge about the rules, so that way the players and the coaches can get a better understanding of the rules. Maybe that'll help diffusing situations, so that way they have an understanding of why this situation happened, why that situation happened. But all in all, the fundamentals need to be improved. The level of respect, the unwritten rules need to come back into play. It's just a step-by-step process. But the fact that we have umpires and coaches and former players get to sit down and talk about it is one step forward in making this game get better.
Okay. All right. Nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, for me, I know this wasn't really heavily discussed, but I feel as though that now that we're in the technology era, right? We have phones, tablets, GoPros, all this other shit that is, you know what I'm saying, that we can access baseball uh, through a screen. I think a lot of, especially at the youth and travel levels, and maybe into high school as well. Logan, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel as though that now this is where I kind of wish that I was a kid in this era because I will be on my screen, any type of screen or phone or tablet, whatever, and I will be watching myself play, watching myself, go through at bats, watching myself field, if I'm doing the fundamentals right, if I'm prep stepping every single pitch, am I taking pitches off because, I'm saying it's the third game of the day and I'm tired as hell and I know that he's not going to hit the ball, so I'm just going to, just stand there and take a pitch off. All of a sudden, ball's hit to me, then I'm reacting late, or I'm, I make an error because, I wasn't mentally prepared. Like a lot of this is mental. Right? Baseball is a mental and intelligent sport, right? We have to be locked in mentally before anything else physical happens, in my opinion. So I feel as though that coaches out there, if any coaches watching this, right, take this, right? I see a lot of cameras and phones and stuff sticking on fences. Are y'all taking those footage of those games and watching your team play, watching your team, if y'all get run ruled out the building, are you going back and watching that film, kind of like how, the other sports do, like especially football, they go back and watch that game film, that game tape, and that'll tell you everything that you need to know about your team. Are we doing that? Are we handling situations, right? And I'll go back to the officiating standpoint. Are we watching ourselves officiate games and self-evaluating? That's my whole main point out of all this is we need to self-evaluate everything that goes on within the baseball game or within the baseball field to be able to see what's been happening, right? That we can't see everything, but that camera that's stuck on the fence that y'all hit record before y'all start playing the game, it catches everything. And it catches the players that want to advance to the next level and the players that just want to be stagnant and just be, just hang out and just be, just another guy. So I feel like we need to be able to self-evaluate the situations more, especially after a weekend or after a game or whatnot. So that way, as a coach, am I motivating and am I doing the right things to get these players ready to play and ready to win? And I know that, we shouldn't really preach winning, especially, when we're 9, 10, 11, 12, even 13 years old. Winning shouldn't be a priority. What should be a priority is respecting the game, respecting each other, your peers, the opponents, having respect for the officials. That's my main takeaway out of this address is that why are we not evaluating those situations and telling our kids this is not the right way to go about things? Look right here what you're doing. Look right here. I even rewind it back for you so that you can see what you're doing and what you're not doing. That is something that we need to be able to do more of starting now and beyond. Because why the hell you have video and not using it to your advantage? That's my main thing. Anybody got anything on that before we wrap up?
I think it's getting bigger, but you're right. It needs to be more universal. When I was in college, it was just starting to become a thing. Now it's a big thing for me, especially with like my catchers, my hitters, so we can break down their mechanics. And then at pitchers too. I mean, if you're locking your knee out too early, you can see it on a slow-mo video. If you're, if your arm is in the wrong position or in a wrong slot, you can see it on a slow-mo video. So it's something that we can go through and talk about. But I think the biggest issue with it right now is nobody's come out with a software that will allow you to pinpoint individual things that doesn't cost an arm and a leg yet. And I think that's the big one. Someone like...
Especially, not to cut you off, Logan, but how about in-game? How about pinpointing top of the third, 2 outs, whatever guy is at bat or whatever is pitching, whatever, can't seem to figure out how his release point if he's a pitcher, or right. This fielder can't seem or hitter can't seem to be on time when a pitch comes into the. Why are we doing that as coaches?
Well, and I get what you're saying. It still, I think, in my opinion, goes back to, not having the software yet. So football, I played football in high school. We used Huddle, and I know there's other programs out there that you can use. Game Changer. I know Jason mentioned Game Changer earlier, and I use Game Changer for my teams. That's what most of our recordings are on. It records in like 10-second snippets, and it only records when there's action. So when a pitch is thrown, when a ball is hit, it gets broken down into like 10-second increments, or I think it can go up to like 30-second increments.
Is there something out there? So I'm big on YouTube, right? And I know that you can live stream games. Obviously, they do it a lot at the college. I mean, you played at the college level, like that. There's software and stuff out there that you can live stream games, and then you can also always stop and pinpoint certain things that happen, right? Like I was saying, like and it shouldn't, and it really not shouldn't. I shouldn't say shouldn't. You can designate a coach to do that. Speaking on that, like these teams that have 5, 6, 8, 10 coaches, right, on the team with like 10 players and stuff. What are all these other adults doing during the game?
I have no idea, because honestly, I'm a lone coach. So my 13 years,
Really,
I coach by myself, and then my high school guys, there's me and one other guy.
Okay.
So
I feel as though 3 should be a sufficient amount of coaches on a baseball team, especially on a youth and travel ball team, because you have a third base coach, obviously the first base coach, and then the coach in the dugout while your team's hitting.
Yeah, well, and
simple enough.
So obviously, travel ball is a little bit different. In travel ball, I always had a kid go out to first, or like a parent would go out to first. But at the high school level, usually our athletic director sits in the dugout with them. Because our athletic director goes to most of the games. So, like, let's say we have a game on Tuesday and softball has a game on Wednesday. They'll go Tuesday, Wednesday to both of the games. But then, when we travel, it's a little bit more difficult. It ends up being, whoever. So, like, last year I had the superintendent's kid on our team, and he would sit in the dugout with them. So he was at all the games too. But as far as having a third coach, I've never had a third coach. Half the time I don't even have a second coach, to be honest. And it's not because I haven't wanted one. It's just because I can't rely on anyone like I can rely on myself.
I mean, if you can have the ability to manage a game by yourself, by all means, like I'm not against a coach coaching by himself, but best believe you got that.
It definitely creates issues.
If you want to argue calls with umpires and stuff like that and run your risk of getting ejected, then what happens? You get ejected, and then
right. Well, and I've never
from the stands to come coach, or the game's over, because can't operate a game without a coach. So,
well, and there are definitely issues that comes up with it, but I haven't run into one yet, knock on wood.
Yeah,
because I'm not the coach that argues.
Not saying your next game you should go out there and get yourself ejected, and then let's see what happens now. As a hey, I'm gonna stick it to JS to say, listen, this is what I'm gonna do. No, I'm not saying that, but
right.
You know what I'm saying? I know that, like, especially at the higher levels, like especially like high school age teams, especially like with teams that are local around here, you do see a lot of one man show when it comes to coaches. Yeah. Anybody else have anything before we sign off? What'd you say, Dave?
I said the one-man shows are typically the coaches that do not get emotional during a game. They know the game of baseball. They know the ups and downs. They know that the next pitch is a new game, so let's just move on. And that's what they're teaching their kids as well.
So I'll throw out there just a little bit. I brought up earlier how I had a game that we were playing. It was a travel ball game, and we were playing away. and the coach snatched one of my kids up by his collar. That was instigated before the game even started by the parent that was helping me coach at the time, because he got into it with the other coach in the dugout, and because we were supposed to be the home team and they were sitting on third base side, and it really didn't matter one way or the other, but he was just that way. So it had started before that, and that's kind of why I'm not too worried about having a second coach or a third coach. But I do understand the issues behind it, and I wish I had more people that I could trust, because how often are you going to bring a guy on that's going to cause more issues for you than he'll solve?
Good point. Yeah, good point. And especially in the younger age groups, right? It's like you have, like the, 5 or 6 coaches out there, right? And like it seems like all 5 or 6 coaches think that they're the manager or they're the head coach. And they always want to have a say in certain calls or certain plays that happen, right? And there's not, I'm gonna use what Seymour said earlier. A lot of head coaches and managers don't have the balls to let their assistants know that, hey, your role is to assist me, not to be above me or even with me. And egos get in the way of that too. And I've seen it happen where, coaches will get into it with each other about, who's supposed to be managing this, or certain situations that happen that, I'm saying, that, one coach thought that this would be good enough to go run this play, but instead, and then they do that and say backfires, and then they looking at him like he's an idiot. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that, and this is a call out to any head coaches and managers that are watching this stream, right? As we're about almost 2.5 hours in, and I promise we're ending this, pretty soon. Have some balls to talk to your staff. If you have one other staff, 2 other staff, what have you, and say, this is my team. I'm running this team. You are going to assist me, but by all means, you're not going to step on toes or go over my head about certain things. And I feel like if those meetings are taking place, especially before the season starts, before you have your first practice or first scrimmage or what have you, then I think I'm talking strictly to the younger age group. I'm talking about the small field age groups from age 7, 8 to 12 years old. Coaches, head coaches and managers, right? Get some fucking control of your coaching staff and your team. That's what you're there for. That's why you have the fucking title. And I hate to be like vulgar about it, but that triggers me more than anything else is having 2 or 3 guys that I don't even know their fucking name, because they didn't come to the plate meeting as the head coach or manager and shake my hand and say, hey, my name is such and such, you know what I'm saying? And do the plate meeting from there. Now I got to hear from 2 or 3 of y'all. And I'm not the one that in the plate meeting that I'm going to say, hey, because some umpires will say, whenever there's a close call, it's between you guys and me, come to the umpire that made a call, this and that. I don't say all that, because I feel as though that as a person that is representing your team, when you come to the plate meeting before a game, y'all should already have in your mindset that I am in charge. That's why I am here with the umpires getting ready to start this game.
No different than when our crews go out, we have to respect the fact that no matter how much more experience or playing time you have over the guys you're working with, every game we have a crew chief, and typically it's the person behind the plate, but not always. It doesn't have to be. But our crew chiefs are typically whoever's behind the plate, and that's the person that's designed to control the game and control the coaches.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot like the catching position. It's just the umpire side.
You're the quarterback.
Right. All right. So that is our first State of Youth Baseball Address 2026. I'd like to thank Seymour. I'd like to thank Dave. I'd like to thank Logan. I'd like to thank Jason and Damien for coming on panel. I think that was the six of us, right? I hope I ain't leaving nobody out. If I did, my bad. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot to talk about, a lot of conversation. You know, almost 2.5 hours, which is kind of like a standard of a 9 inning baseball game, or maybe a 7 inning game, depending on how the game goes. But either way, right? We hope that you learn something tonight, right? Because this is what this is about, right? We're learning. We're not trying to, you know, talk down to y'all or say all. I think we did a lot of good things about travel ball and youth baseball as a whole itself as well that we discussed. So if you missed any of it, if you're catching this on live and want to go back, the link is this episode is going to be on my channel. And like I said, like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. And like I said, thank you guys for coming on panel, right? And we're gonna do this again sometime soon. I don't know when, but I know where to find y'all out now. Now that what I'm saying, we're here. We met each other. We got to know each other and everything like that. We know each other and everything like that. So again, thank you guys. And if Logan, good luck to you out there this season with your travel ball teams and with your high school team as well. Seymour, good luck to you out there this year with umpiring. Dave, you as well. Good luck out there. And good luck to all of you guys that are watching. All right. May your 2026 season be great. I know I'm going to strive on my 2026 season being great. You should as well. And for that, I say adios, everyone.
Thanks for having
Good
me.
night, everybody.
Nope. Be safe.